Okay, so today we are starting our unit on quadratics. I'm just going to give you an overview of what we could be looking at. We're going to start with our vocabulary. You're going to go on an adventure today. Miss Long is taking you on an adventure. We are doing quadratics around the world. But before we can go on that adventure, you need some definitions. So we're going to start with a couple of terms that you need to know. We're going to talk about the terms maximum versus minimum. So those are the first terms. And these terms will be on our word wall, in our virtual classroom. So you'll be able to find them there. But maximum is the highest point that our quadratic will reach. Okay? It's the highest point that our quadratic will reach. This will be our vertex. Of our, I'm going to abbreviate quadratics that open downward. Now, Miss Long, what do you mean by open downward? So glad you asked. Okay, what I mean by open downward is we have a quadratic that opens downward. So it looks like a hill. It's a rolling hill. So this point right here, that is your maximum because it's the highest point. This is also going to be our vertex. So whatever your maximum is, that is your vertex. All right, so that's what a maximum is. Now, on the other side, we have the minimum. So what do you think? If the maximum is the highest point, then I bet you can tell me what the minimum is. That's right. The minimum is the lowest point that our quadratic reaches. On a quadratic graph opening upward. The minimum will also be our vertex. So what do you know? Well, you know if you have a maximum, it's your vertex. If you have a minimum, it's your vertex. So here again, well, Miss Long, what does that look like? All right, so glad you asked again. Here's what it looks like to open upward. Okay, so down here, wherever that's your lowest point, so that's your minimum, but it's also your vertex. What's a vertex, you ask? Again, I'm so glad you asked these questions. Y'all are so smart. Okay, so let's say what a vertex is. So the vertex is the coordinate of either the maximum or minimum of our quadratic function. Okay? So the vertex is the coordinate of either the maximum or the minimum of our quadratic function. So you're going to have, remember your coordinates, you're going to have an x value and you're going to have a y value. So your vertex will always be an x and a y. Remember, x is always first, y is always second. Okay? Now, something else that you're going to have to find for me today in your travels is the axis of symmetry. Now, remember, we have two axes. You have the x-axis and you have the y-axis, right? When I say the axis of symmetry, I'm actually talking about the line that I can fold my quadratic function on. And it lie directly on itself. Looking like it is only one picture. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So let's say that I give you this. What the axis of symmetry is, there we go. What the axis of symmetry is this line where if I took this and I folded it together and I looked on either side, it would look exactly the same. Okay, and in fact, I want you to add something right here, and I should have added it first, vertical. It's the vertical line. Okay, that's my bad. It's the vertical line that I can fold, at least for now. Every once in a while, we'll have the horizontal, but right now we're talking about the vertical line. All right, so if I took it and I folded it, it would look exactly the same on either side. Now, with your axis of symmetry and quadratics, so with quadratics, your axis of symmetry will always be x equals since we are talking about the vertical line, and then the x value of your vertex. Okay, so with quadratics, your axis of symmetry will always be x equals, because we're talking about vertical, so those are always x equals. and it's going to be the x value of your vertex. So let's say right here, I told you your vertex was at 1, 5. Okay? Say I told you it was at 1, 5. So that means that your axis of symmetry would be x equals 1. In this case, I don't care anything about the 5 right now. All I care about is the x value. Okay, so axis of symmetry would be x equals 1. You don't just put 1. It's an equation. Okay, it's an equation of a vertical line, which is x equals. So you must put that there. So it's x equals 1. Okay, so in your journey around the world, you're going to see some different sites that you may never have seen before. But after each of those journeys, you're going to have a picture that you're going to have to decide, does it have a maximum or a minimum? What is the value or what is the vertex of that maximum or minimum? And what is the axis of symmetry? Okay, so that's what you're going to be tasked with today. Then, tomorrow, I'm going to put you into groups, and y'all get to find some different areas or different things around the world that you get to choose that show quadratics, and you get to make up the questions. Okay? So you have examples today from me, and then you get to make them up yourself. All right. Have fun on your adventure.